Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. And we've got the president of Texas Tech University, Dr. Schovanec, on the line, and we want to get right to him. Dr. Schovanec, it's great to hear from you, and especially it's great to talk about something that's a little more, at least a little more normal here in Lubbock, Texas. So how are you this morning?
I'm fine, Matt. It's good to visit with you and Dave again. It seems like it's been a long time.
Yes,
Yeah,
it has.
Had a little break there.
Yeah.
It's been a long time, Dr. Schovanec, and I'm so glad that you're here this morning.
Well, thank you.
You are a very big deal. I mean,
I wouldn't take a poll on that if I were you.
Well, no, I will, because we're so pleased to have you on our radio show. Have you ever imagined, Dr. Schovanec, that you would have lived through a year like we just came out of in 2020?
No, I don't think any of us could have imagined that, and I think all of us were in moments when we were visiting with friends and we were all sitting there with masks on, thinking, "How did we get here?" We've lost friends, families have been affected. It's been extraordinary.
Yeah, Dr. Schovanec, one of the things that I was reading yesterday, I believe, and I heard it on the news, is that before students come back to Texas Tech, they're going to need to get a negative COVID result so that that everybody coming on the campus is safe.
Matt, we recommended that they be tested.
Oh, okay. So
we're not mandating that.
Oh, okay.
And that's more or less the same thing we did in the fall. So we're not mandating tests. I think there's all kind of problems when you say everybody must be tested within a certain time frame. That gives you information at a point in time, but what happens between then and they're back on campus can change the situation. So we're encouraging them to do that. Tomorrow, we will also start the free on-campus testing provided by the Texas Department of Emergency Management. That's going to be going on campus there right across from the Student Union building. So we did that last fall, and we'll continue to provide free testing. We tested close to 30,000 students through TDM and our wellness center during the fall semester, and we had slightly less than 3,200 positive cases. That's a significant number, but we still felt that as far as in-class instruction went, it was safe, and our schedule for the spring will have about 70% with some degree of face-to-face, and we feel that's very responsible.
So, Dr. Schovanec,
you're saying that you had almost 10% of the 30,000 students tested positive?
No, I said, well, that includes faculty and staff. So Dave, we have about 40,000 students, a little over, and about 5,500 to 6,000 employees. And so there were about 3,200 positive cases from August until the end of the year. Yes, that's true.
So, Dr. Schovanec, one of the things I wanted to ask you, I know that the state of Texas is working with the city of Lubbock to get vaccinations to the city of Lubbock. Does at Texas Tech are the faculty and staff, are they going to have to work with the city of Lubbock to get those vaccinations, or is Texas Tech working with the state of Texas to get their professors and their staff vaccinated?
Yeah, it's both, Matt. We applied for permission to be a distribution center, and as an example of how that's going to work, just late yesterday, we received a small number, 100 vaccines that we were able to distribute to faculty that qualified under Phase 1B. So late yesterday afternoon, we sent an email to those faculty in that category who are over 65 were granted an AA accommodation, and asked them to RSVP very quickly. We're going to be establishing a link where people can sign up to be on the list to receive any vaccine we receive. of course, they can go to the city and other places to try to receive that vaccine. But we'll have a limited number that we can distribute.
Okay, and you're looking at giving it to faculty over 65 years old?
Well, it's proceeding according to the mandate, in with phase 1A and 1B, and there's also 1C and then phase 2. So those who were in the first allotment yesterday were identified as being under phase 1B. So those were the people that were over 65 or had certain medical conditions.
Gotcha.
Well, Dr.
It's a very
Schovanec,
limited number, and in some ways, I would say by doing this, I mean, excuse me for being blunt, but you're damned if you don't. Some of the faculty have reached out and staff, but frustrated that we haven't been able to do more. But of course, they can go to they can sign up applications. But anytime we receive vaccines, we appreciate getting those from the city. We're going to try to distribute to our people as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Schovanec, we have classes will start a week from today.
They will start on the 20th. That's right, Dave.
Yeah.
So we delayed the spring semester, and then reduced the spring break to one day on March 19th. But we also added another day of no classes. That was in part due to the feedback we heard from students. There's a lot of issues related to the mental health, the wellness that they're dealing with in terms of isolation. This Zooming creates certain problems, and they felt that they needed a break, and we agreed with that. We consulted with our medical health experts on campus to provide those services to students. And so we're going to have 3 days. There was a previously scheduled day of no classes on April the 6th. So the students will get a break, and we've scheduled those on Friday, so they have a sort of a long weekend.
And this is a big change from what you would have done last year. I mean, it pretty much cancels spring break. It just reduces it. How is that going to affect when school gets out? Is school going to get out a little earlier?
No, Matt.
Okay.
Because we delayed the start.
Okay.
And so that brings up the issue of graduation. We did have December both virtual and a in-person ceremony. We had 8 ceremonies on 2 days. And it was different, but it was still, I think, so meaningful to those students and their families that wanted that opportunity. And naturally, there was some criticism that we did that, but we had those 8 ceremonies so we could control the environment. There were social distancing, and we took a lot of precautions. I think it went off very well, and we're planning to have that same sort of experience in the spring at the end of the semester.
Yeah, speaking of different, Texas Tech's going to go to University of Texas, I guess, here very soon, and it's going to be a no-crowd game. In other words, there's not anybody but the team, I guess, there. How did that come about? Is that just a rule there in Austin? And how do you think that's going to affect the team?
Well, that's I hope it has a negative effect in Texas.
Yeah, I do too, honestly.
That's their decision.
Oh.
They've also at UT's decided to have the virtual for January. We are going to proceed with our instruction as we planned, and so that's their decision. But that's not a league mandate.
Well, and honestly, Dr. Schovanec, compared to other universities that have had kind of a I guess a separation of their students doing it all online and whatnot, Texas Tech really hasn't seen a huge uptick compared meeting in person compared to those that were meeting online. That's
true. And when I mentioned that number, and Dave seemed, his response is probably as it is for many. It's a lot, yes, but the student population. We had one student who was hospitalized, and they had other issues. We did lose a member of our police department, that funeral. It was very, very sad.
Yeah.
Over the break, we had a faculty member who had retired. He passed away. These tragedies. But we still feel that having the face-to-face instruction as we planned it was not compromising the health. The classroom being reduced to the capacity that we're utilizing, we feel is safe.
Well, and Dr. Schovanec, just to be, I guess, honest, if you look at the population of tech students and faculty percentage-wise that have gotten COVID, and you look at the county of Lubbock's percentage is actually higher than that of Texas Tech.
I haven't done that calculation, but I think it's comparable. And another factor, Tech's enrollment went up a little over 4% in the fall, and nationwide undergraduate enrollment dropped about 4.5%. And I do believe. I'm sorry.
We have got to take a break.
Okay.
And then, we'll come back. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Dave.
All right. We'll be right back with Dr. Schovanec, president of Texas Tech University, on Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin.
It is 8:25, and we're back with one of our all-time favorite guests is, of course, the president of Texas Tech University, Dr. Schovanec. Good. Glad to have you on this morning. What is on your mind, Dr. Schovanec?
Well, I probably should make a few comments about the legislative session. That opened yesterday. As we go into this session, our primary focus at Texas Tech will be to make sure that we receive the non-formula funding for the Texas Tech School of Veterinary Medicine that we requested when approval was granted for the medical school during the last session. So that will be around $22 to $23 million for this next biennium. So we do need that non-formula funding until the revenue from our own enrollment and the formula received from that kicks in. The vet school is progressing wonderfully. The building is nearing completion. They've received in excess of 700 applications for those 60 spots they're going to fill. Dean Guy Lonneregan has done a fabulous job. They've hired around 30 faculty or more, and it's turning out, and it's all going very, very well.
So, Dr. Schovanec, as far as the legislative session that's coming up, is there any worries about the cuts that are talked about already hurting the chance of getting that funding for the vet school?
Well, of course, we're concerned, but we've visited with our representatives, Senator Perry Fulo, Representative Burrows, and others, and we'll make our case, and we feel confident that we'll continue to receive that funding as was planned when the vet school was approved. The budget will be down this year. I think it's about $1 billion short. As a percentage, it's not that large of an amount, but we know it will be a challenging session, and so we don't. We did take a 5% cut in the last biennium after COVID hit, and
that doesn't even include all the money y'all have had to pay out or have lost due to COVID.
That's right. I mean, that number is pretty significant. But one thing that helped us at Texas, we haven't furloughed, we haven't cut salaries, we have scrutinized new hires, but our enrollment, that's really, really been a benefit to us. And going into this session, Tech will be in the top 2 or 3 in terms of institutions who saw an increase in their student credit hours taught, and that will help us in our formula distribution in the coming biennium.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with, I think Texas Tech's done COVID right. I think that y'all have tried to be as safe as possible, but not take away the college experience.
I appreciate that, Matt. I recognize that there are many different opinions. I think we're in a period right now where there's a lot of disagreement about many things.
Yeah.
And but I do feel like we have handled it reasonably well.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dr. Schovanec, thank you so much for coming on. I unfortunately, we've run out of time, but we will talk to you again here soon.
Okay, Dave, Matt, it's so good to talk to you. It really is.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Schovanec. Chad Hasty's going to be next on KFYO.